Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. What did we talk about last week?
Happiness.
Yeah, Nora, good. Happiness.
I'm so excited I have to come back for the second half.
Oh, really? Second half? Second 1/8. Okay, so we started talking about happiness. There is actually 8 mindful steps to happiness. And actually it's a elaboration, or you can call it also, or maybe you can call it a summary of 8 mindful ways to happiness, which actually the Buddha has mentioned about the 8 Noble Paths. Remember that? But the Noble Path can only bring you happiness if you are very mindful of all the little steps. And as I said tonight during the meditation, if you're not mindful, those thoughts will lead you astray. If you're not mindful, those emotions will take you away. If you're not mindful, what you learn, or what you learn from the book, or what you learn from the teacher, is just the whole strings of words. That's all. Okay? So it's not going to help you. So remember what we talked about last week was we actually had a little discussion about the world being in such a turmoil, and how can we actually help ourselves to actually understand what happiness is. A lot of people think that happiness is being wealthy. A lot of people think that happiness is being famous. And a lot of people think that, if I sit still for 12 hours, I will be a happy person. And look at the tree outside, it's been sitting there for 12 years. Does it have a happy face on its trunk? It doesn't. So we need to know really what is the real meaning of happiness. Is happiness just fulfilling all your sensual pleasures, or just fulfilling all these mundane satisfactions? It's actually neither of this. Though the mundane satisfactions or the sensual pleasures will give you some happiness, but that happiness is very transient and very impermanent, and you can lose it right away, just like this. Okay, so we better be smart. We better be smart if we want to be a happy person, and if we want to use this rest of the life to actually cultivate more happiness. Okay, the real happiness that is going to help us in the future lives to come. Whether you believe in future lives, it doesn't matter, but at least the future days of your life, of the rest of this life, is actually very important, because a lot of you are still very young. Okay? So you still have many days ahead, hopefully, you still have many days ahead of you that you can actually use them to cultivate a real happiness, the deep happiness that is going to help you and is going to help others. Okay? That's why I know we've talked about the Eightfold Noble Path before, but this is actually a very different perspective to look at the Eightfold Noble Path. Okay, so with the help of Eva, we managed to actually added those recordings last week, so they will be going to be put up on YouTube. Is that right? Or on Facebook, or what?
I thought you wanted a link on our website, so you can...
Okay, a link on our website to where?
Well, hopefully to a download. I'm going to talk to Kiss about this stuff.
Okay. So any of these recordings, if I think they are proper, they will be uploaded onto the website, so you guys could listen to it second time, or third time, or fourth time. Doesn't mean that you don't have to come. Okay? People nowadays are very, very peculiar. They think, I can listen to recordings. I don't need to go to the teachings physically. I can listen to recordings. I can listen to the teachings at home. It's very different. It's very different. So don't think that you can stop coming to Poland, but yet and log on. I will have password protected recordings. So make sure that you guys come and you get a particular password to log onto your own. Oh God!
Every Tuesday.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea, Maria. No, I'm not going to make it too difficult for us. No. Okay, so, this doesn't work. Okay, we talked about this last time. The happiness of sensual pleasure, and it's just like, these sensual pleasures are just like threads. You can tie down a baby with thin threads, but for an adult, we can easily break those threads. That means we can have that power to break away from indulging into the sensual pleasures. Okay, it's not easy, but it's possible. You see, I told you, I've got the date right. It's just another slide. That's all. So we all start again, all over again. Okay, Namo Tassa Bhagavato. All right. So the highest source of happiness. So the first one is the happiness of renunciation. So, did we talk about this last week? No. Okay. So, happiness of renunciation. People think that renunciation is just like us taking up ropes. That's renunciation. No, renunciation is you renounce yourself from your own greed, from your own anger, from your own ill will, from your own hatred, and from your own ignorance. And also renounce from the worldly pleasures, dropping all the worldly pleasures, all the worldly concerns. And you can do that once in a while in your life. If you're like a householder, I cannot ask you to, you renounce your family and you come and live in Poland and shave your head and become a nun. No, that's irresponsible. That's irresponsible. Unless you fulfill all your responsibilities, and or people get married, they have family, and they can still renounce the mundane life and become a monastic. Why? They may have dealt with their responsibilities, or the family actually support them to renounce as a householder life, and they support them to become a monastics. And but I don't agree with people who have a young family with young children, and they give up their family and go to the temple 24/7. That's not proper. That's not proper. The family is the place where you practice and where you grow, where you put the Buddha's teachings into practice. Okay? So when you start to renounce that urge to become a monastic, that's also a renunciation. Okay. So the true renunciation is, of course, when you say it's a higher source of happiness, is you renounce all the worldly concerns and start to seek solitude in peaceful surroundings to pursue a spiritual path. We have had a very busy weekend, right? Starting from when was Chinese New Year? Thursday. And then Friday we were busy, decorating the hall in Van Dusen, and then Saturday we had a whole day ceremony, and then Sunday we had a whole day thing. Today last night I came home, I was just overwhelmed by all the sounds and all the the busy schedule and everything. And today I said to the sisters last night, don't expect to see me today. I'm not going for lunch, I'm not going to anywhere. I'm just going to hide myself in my little J house. Okay? So I sat there, and then I read my books, and I thought, wow, this happiness of being in solitude, that's just so fulfilling. And actually it allowed me to overcome my tiredness so much, way much more than sleep can do for me. And today I actually, of course, in 45 days course or in 30-day course, you actually tasted that kind of solitude, but that is a very different kind of solitude. It's a solitude. But here is a solitude in a busy world. Still, the phone is still ringing and everything is, I need to make my own lunch and I need to make my own tea. And still things are going on, but yet there's this sense of peace and quietness and that kind of solitude. Ooh, that's a very nice experience. But I did not attach to it, and I saw it coming, I saw that thought coming, I saw that thought going, and it's keep arising. Geez, this is solitude. This is the bliss of solitude. Really, not really just hiding yourself away from in the forest for 45 days or in the whole lifetime. That you might not be able to taste that bliss of solitude. But today I did. Oh wow, this is really blissful, and I felt so nourished after that feeling. But yet it's okay. That bliss is gone now, but yet it's still okay. So there are people who actually can develop a lot of happiness through their prayers or religious rituals or inspirations, and that you can actually count that as a higher source of happiness too. Okay, so it's like a few of you have gone to the chanting on Saturday, and you think, oh, you were so joyful, and that is also a higher source of happiness, because that happiness doesn't come from satisfaction of sensual pleasures. It's actually come from this satisfaction of our mind, this mental satisfaction. It's like it seems that your faith being nourished by this kind of rituals. Okay, so that's a different kind of happiness too. So, and also a happiness of generosity. I don't know whether you have had this kind of happiness of after sharing with people, that being generous, not necessarily in a material level, not material sense, but also could be on a spiritual sense, or could be half material, half spiritual. Okay, so that happiness is, you cannot actually buy it with money. I think I shared with you guys about a story about one of my inmates' buddy, whom I went to visit in the beginning of January, and he said, "You gave me back my second life." I said, "It's not me give it." He said, "It's you, because you came into the prison to teach us meditation, and that meditation give me back my second life." I never imagined that I could be such a happy person. And him being so happy, and me seeing him being so happy, actually brings so much joy to myself. And I was in tears when he said that. I was really in tears when he said that. And he was so grateful. He was so appreciative. It's not because he was grateful. It's not because he appreciates, because I see the joy in him. And I see that he actually had overcome so much of his own obstacles. And he had actually struck off so much anger. That actually brought me so much happiness. And that happiness, I cannot put them into words. I cannot really... I know, I keep telling you guys, how happy I am going into the prison and blah, 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 blah. But no words can explain. No words can describe that happiness, that joy. So the happiness of generosity. So people say, "Oh, sister, you are so busy, you need to really rest and relax, and you should, lessen down your responsibilities." I said, "No, can't, because it's not that I'm craving for those happiness." But because seeing people progressing on the path and seeing people becoming a different person, I said it's worthwhile to give up the life to do those things, to fulfill those responsibilities. So that's the happiness of generosity. So of course, if you are able to help physically, if you're able to help monetarily, if you're able to help mentally, that will actually cultivate happiness for yourself in the future. Okay, so There is and then the third type of happiness is the happiness from letting go of mental irritants. So, okay, please tell me. Test tonight. I know you guys are so good now. So, what are the mental irritants, please? That's the very cunning laugh. Okay, come on, good students, wonderful bright students you are. Come on, mental irritants. The first one.
Greed.
Who said that? Greed. Okay. Second one. Aversion. Great. Delusion. Ignorance. Yes. Good. You see, you guys are great. So, when I go away, you're going to have quizzes again. Because, those quizzes that can help you to remember. So there is this happiness of letting go, because once we start to let go, there is a sense of relief. And pleasure every time we let go. We are stressed out because we don't know how to let go. We become emotional because we allow things to actually, shoulder onto you. And if you start to let go, those bags will become lighter and lighter, right? Yes, Bill?
There's a Dutch philosopher of the 16th century named Erasmus. He wrote a book called In Praise of Folly. And one of the follies that he praises is to open your heart to others.
To open the heart to God. So who is God?
Take the risk.
Take the risk? Who is God? In you. In your mind, who is God?
The Dhamma.
The Dhamma is God. Okay.
Nature.
The nature.
Laws of nature.
Huh?
Laws of nature.
The laws of nature is
Law.
God. Okay. So, who is God to you? Nothing. No, there is something. There must be something, but everybody thinks that there is a God.
Everything.
Everything. God is everything. Yes, Maria?
If you go into some of the old Aboriginal teachings, they actually refer to Creator as a verb. It's not
As a verb.
as a verb, so it's a continuation of creating, creator. So you actually are your own God, you're your own creator.
Oh, I like that. I never know that. Oh, that
If you
really
go into the
is the
old
First
teaching,
Nation teaching.
over the years, it has become more Westernized.
Yeah.
I can't say Westernized because they were originally Western. So more, yeah, doesn't apply right now. But it didn't have the influence of the churches.
Yes,
So
but now it has.
it does. So now, if you talk to them, if you ask them a lot, they'll say like God is an actual presence. But originally, the old teachings, God is a verb. God is creating, creator, like a continuum.
Continuum of you, of your existence. Ah.
And all the other questions that couldn't be answered are part of the void. Just a black.
Oh. Part of the void. Selfless. Wow. No wonder why, whenever I go to this Chilliwack Hospice training course, which I have to go tomorrow night, there is sometimes there is this Aboriginal elder presence together with me. And, the first time she actually dawned on me, it was, geez, this is so close, the Aboriginal teachings and the Buddhist teachings, so close, so familiar. But yet this creator, I don't agree with. Now, with your explanation of what is creator in the old original sense, that is closer to what we call this master of our own mind.
I read that years ago, and when I read it, it was like my whole brain just did a complete flip, and I thought, I get that, I like that.
Yeah, that's more true to the nature of existence than the normal definition of a God, right? So, thank you, Maria.
It also makes us accountable for our actions.
Exactly.
And our thoughts, as opposed to giving praise or blame or
Yes,
responsibility to
Yes.
something
yes,
outside
yes,
of us.
yes. But you see, why does it say happiness from letting go of mental irritants? Why does it say? Why? How can we be happy if we let go of these mental irritants? Because a lot of times we actually blame ourselves. We have so much guilt. We have so much shame. We have so much, this old me don't deserve this, or this old me should be punished like this. Oh, this old me is so irritable. This old me, and all these old you actually become a mental irritants to the development of a pure mind. You see? So only when you start to let go of those attachments, then you start to become lighter. But yet, we are so dumb. We carry them on our shoulders all the time. We don't want to let go because the habit is so strong. The habit is so firmly set. This habit of thinking. That's why these 8 steps of these 8 mindful steps to happiness are so very important. It's not just the 8-fold noble path. It's actually 8 mindful steps to walk on this noble path. How you can actually integrate this mindfulness into each step of that noble path. That's the important part. Get it? Good.
And meditation courses.
Of course, the mindfulness is meditation. Of course, this meditation is a part of this mindfulness. Yeah? But it's not the complete mindfulness. There's a very, very... I've been reading a lot of books on Chan meditation because I'm going to give a talk about Chan meditation in March in Hong Kong, because that's one of the commitments of Yang Sifu, and now she's sick that I took that up. So, but I've been reading it. But actually for the last 2 years I've been contemplating on this technique of meditation myself. Though I'm a Vipassana meditator, but still there is a lot of things to sort of progress, still a lot of big step to progress on meditation. And what I'm reading right now actually go together with how I actually felt for the past 2 years about meditation. So I rather use mindfulness than just meditation, because mindfulness is throughout the day. When people talk about meditation, they always think that sitting there, being so still, is meditation. No. I always say, go and look at the mountain, go and look at that tree, go and look at that piece of rock, sitting at the yellow mountain. Remember the slide that I showed you, that flying rock coming into and sit there for 100 years? Is it enlightened? It's not enlightened. So, is it blissful? No, it's just a piece of rock. It's a piece of stone. So one has to be very careful when one talks about meditation. It's not just sitting still.
It has to develop the mindfulness, or it's not the correct meditation.
Yes, and that mindfulness that one's developed through sitting meditation has to be integrated throughout the 24 hours in life. Otherwise, it's not mindfulness at all. It's not a good meditator.
I find that looking after a reasonable piece of garden or land, there's a sort of a thing in the solar plexus here that sometimes wants to go in 4 to 5 different directions. And that has got to be dealt with.
Very smart, though. Wow, he's a very good meditator.
You just got to sit on
This
that.
is very difficult.
Yeah.
This is
all
so
there in the
difficult.
old diaphragm,
Yeah.
You've got to tame that beast. That's it.
Wow.
That's the beast.
Oh, that's the beast there. It's true. That's where all the troubles come from. It's just right here.
Some people describe it as the ego, the solar plexus, because it's a self-awareness, and often is, like you said, it pulls in different directions.
It doesn't matter how people describe. It's actually what matters is how you feel it. How you react to that feeling here. That's the very, very tricky stuff. That's the beast. That's the beast. That's the big, big beast there. Great, Bill. Well, you have a hope. For a bright future life, Bill. Wow. Well, okay. So what's that then? What's the highest source of happiness? Remember the word sukha. Remember sukha? So what's the opposite of sukha? Good. You passed. Dukkha. Dukkha, that means sufferings, right? So that actually, with each stage of attainment, there is a certain level of bliss, and our human load is actually lifted off a little bit more and more by each level of attainment. Though it could be challenging at times when you reach a stage and you never experienced that before, and it could be very daunting. It could be very terrifying. And the very first experience for a lot of people is the feeling of loneliness. The feeling of loneliness. When you reach a certain stage, there is this strong feeling of loneliness. It seems that, yes, you are surrounded by people, but yet you're so alone. And that fear of being so lonely could be very, very challenging, could be very testing, and could actually put people away, lead people away from meditation. People start to get so scared and start to feel so insecure and start to feel so fearful that they thought they are doing the wrong thing, because that experience could be very daunting and very scary. So don't be scared if you start to feel some kind of loneliness, because you reach that stage, that quietness inside that mind that you've never experienced, and that is actually a really very solitude feeling. Okay, I don't know whether you guys have experienced that at all, but anyway. So, but if you start just to look at it, just to feel it the way it is, then it becomes a very, very blissful feeling. And of course, you don't want to start, craving for more of those blissful feeling, because that means you're running away. You're running opposite direction, because you start to fall into the trap of craving for more blissful experience. Okay. So, as the Buddha said, the final stage of enlightenment is the permanent freedom from all negative states of mind. Of course, this final deliverance will bring uninterrupted sublime happiness, but it's not something that you have to crave for. It's not something that you should wish for, but you aspire yourself to walk on this path and have that faith that one day you reach there. But you just don't look at the goal and just keep looking at the goal and not doing anything here. You have to keep taking steps, okay? Why are you laughing, Miwa?
Like a shortcut.
This is the shortcut.
But
well,
is that the purpose of samadhi? To be aware of that, in that deep concentration?
that's not samadhi. That's sati.
Sati part, oh yes.
Samadhi is just concentration. but being aware is sati.
It's sati.
Yeah, it's different. It's mindfulness. That's mindfulness.
That is like the,
It's not samadhi.
so that's
Samadhi
not
is
the goal.
concentration.
Right, sati is
Yes,
is
sati.
the goal, really.
Yeah, sati is the awareness of each moment, the way it is. That's the goal. Okay, so so the Buddha actually recommend us to, of course, to try our best to improve ourselves and maximize our happiness at whatever level we can. But if you start to look for a shortcut, sorry, it doesn't. Huh?
I'm just teasing.
Sorry, it doesn't work. I remember in 1996 I went to a lecture given by Dalai Lama in LA. 1996, and I think that was one of the questions that one of the people in the audience actually raised. Is there a shortcut to enlightenment? And Dalai Lama said, "Sorry, there is no shortcut." And I think he mentioned. Can't remember. He actually mentioned about this. It was the 7th Dalai Lama or the 6th Dalai Lama. He's the 14th, and he said either the 6th or the 7th Dalai Lama actually meditated so diligently, so scrupulously. He actually broke about 12 of these what do you call sofas? The meditation cushion. There's what's the name of the meditation cushion you call? We call it a buckwheat meditation cushions. They call it a sofa. Safu. Yeah, broke 12 safus. And I remember Richard Gere said, "Oh well, the callus grow on the butt." So that's him, right, Richard Gere. But anyway, we should cut this off. But you don't care?
I don't get it.
You don't get it? Oh, that means you meditate so hard, so diligently that actually your butt is full of callus. Calluses. Is that plural for callus? Oh, calluses. Really? You can count callus? Oh, okay. Not carrots, callus.
More than one.
Oh, calluses. Oh, calluses. Okay, calluses. So, okay, so this. So remember these 8 steps actually. These 8 skillful steps. I know you guys know them by heart by now. Okay, so these 8 steps are the path for us to attain ultimate happiness. So, what is the first step, please? Right. Yes, right. Right what?
Right thought.
Right thought? Okay, that's the second step. Right speech, that's the third. The right actions, that's the third one. Remember, huh? Right view, yes, that's also called right understanding, right? What's the second one? No, that's the third one. Right thoughts, right thinking. Okay, what's the third one? Right speech. Okay, what about the fourth? Speech, verbal. Right actions, very good. So what about the fifth one? Actions. Livelihood, good. Okay, then livelihood. What do you need to put into a right livelihood? No.
Intention.
Effort, very good. You see, you don't get those hints when you have to write a written exam. So when you put the right effort, when you have the right effort in livelihood, but what's the most important? What is the most important aspect that you have to put the right effort in?
Concentration.
That's the last one. Sorry.
Mindfulness.
Yes, mindfulness. Great, good. So,
That was the last one.
what's the last one?
That was the last one.
Great. Good. Good effort. Very good effort. It's not easy, you see. Even though we have actually come across this so many times, still. Yes,
You
Mike?
know what's actually amazing is because I just looked at them a couple of nights ago,
And you
and you ask, and I'm going, okay, this one, because I know she's going to ask them pretty soon. This one, and they're gone. It doesn't matter.
We're living in the moment.
Huh?
We're just living in the moment.
oh wow, that's a good excuse, Alison. Very good excuse. Okay, so what do you think? Oh, can't tell the color, huh? Well,
Those are fun.
this is. Okay, sorry. All right, this has a different color. This one here.
Mm-hmm. And so is
This
effort.
has effort,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
mindfulness. These three have different colors. Why do you think they have different colors?
Because you made them different.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good blame on your teacher.
When we were studying this, weren't they grouped differently? You group these differently?
They are grouped differently.
Or not?
They are grouped differently.
Because they make more sense.
But these are not grouping.
If those three are refined, they'll take care of the others.
Very good. Because yes, these are the three cardinal points of each step. Each step has these three parts in it. If any of these three is missing, the step, in any step, that step won't be perfect. Right? So if you are not mindful of your thinking, okay, how can you understand it? And how can you put the right effort in? You can't. Right? If you understand this livelihood in the wrong sense, and if you're not mindful that you understand it in the wrong sense, you will put in the wrong efforts. Get it? Right? That's why these three highlighted different colors are important, are cardinals in all these 8 steps. Right? We did not talk about this before. We just talked about the eight noble paths, that's all. The 8 steps. So these 3 points are very, very important. And with our experience every day, the craving constantly arises. When craving arises, the whole cycle will start to spin on again and again, over and over again. Unless we start to be mindful of that craving having arisen, then we start to say, oh, wow, yes, it has arisen. Let me be mindful of it. But we understand the whole of this process of craving is undergoing changes. And it's not going to last. We know that. But do we actually understand it? Can we actually be mindful of it? It's very difficult, right? A lot of times when we become emotional, or when we become sick, or when we are being tested, no matter what kind of life experience we've been testing or we've been tested on, but a lot of time we sort of snowballing it, keep rolling on it. We don't allow ourselves to come out. We allow ourselves to be trapped by it. And the snowball keeps growing, but bigger and bigger. And the bigger the snowball is, the harder that actually we can detach ourselves from.
But it seems to me, in order to act, it's useful to know that the necessity of the psychic energy of katana that has to summon and bring the will to act.
Yeah, that needs a very strong mind, a very strong mindfulness to be able to recognize that and to say, no, I am going to stop it. But a lot of times, at the back of the mind, we know that we want to stop it, but yet we are not willing to stop it. Why? I don't know.
Habit.
Very good. The habit, the old habits.
The familiar.
The familiarity, yeah.
It's
And-
more comfortable.
It's a comfort.
Yeah, the bubble.
Even when it's unpleasant, it's comfortable because
Yeah.
it's what's known, what
Yes.
we're
Right,
used
it's
to.
what you
Yes,
And anything other than what we're used to is scary.
yeah,
Even depression is better than, that shark thing.
yeah, that's very true. Even depression could be easier to deal with because you can just hide yourself. This is my old self and this is me. This is very normal of me.
Yeah.
I don't want to go, I don't want to leave that bubble, that bubble chamber. Yeah? So it takes big courage to take one step.
But sometimes when we're depressed, we're unhappy. That's why we do things, because we're unhappy, not because we don't do things just because we do things, because we're unhappy.
We are unhappy, yeah?
Because sometimes we're depressed, that's why we're unhappy, and that's why we do other things.
Yeah. So that's why the snowball keeps rolling. Right, Sam? Yeah. Okay, so remember these three cardinal steps, points are very, very crucial in cultivating on this noble path. Okay, so now, right understanding. I'm laughing at myself. Okay, so right view or right understanding. So what does it mean? Now you can tell me because we all studied that before. What does right understanding mean? Oh, so quiet this class.
Starting from understanding that suffering is inherent.
Good. Yes.
I think one has to recognize the forces that are in play between the mind and the psychic energy that's necessary to get a coherent grasp of what to do about any given situation. Particularly in oneself, and one realizes, as my wife June took me to task this morning, she said, you're letting your anger feed on itself. Certain couple of people in society, not my family, but in society, that have thoroughly nettled me because of the obtuseness of their attitudes towards what is supposed to be an open society that they're living in and they cannot embrace.
Yeah.
I have a person from Portuguese Goa is so stuffed with Jansenistic prejudices and that against everybody, and is affected by either consciously or unconsciously by the rigid caste system of his own country. But to underlying his conversation, there is such a hostility, openness.
Yes.
You've got to have some doctrinaire attitude with a lid clamped on it. And this is what June was getting annoyed at me about for harping on it. I was driving her nuts. It's time where I needed a good wife.
Wow.
You've got one. You've got one. So
It affects us all.
So right understanding what the Buddha actually meant is you understand that life is full of dissatisfactions. Dukkha. Yeah. And we understand that happiness on a mundane level or on a mundane level is actually temporary and transient. We have to start seeing that and start knowing that and start understanding that and start being aware of it and start accepting it, embracing that truth. A lot of times we don't. We don't embrace that, we don't understand it, we don't accept it. That's why all the miseries come from, all the dissatisfactions come from. So, and we know that unskillful behavior will lead to unhappy results. We know that. We know that. And we know that skillful acts will lead to happy results. We know that. We are aware of that. But it's just that somehow we are so stupid that we don't do it. That's all. Because of all these wrong views, wrong understandings. Okay, faulty understandings. So, right understanding, because Samma Sati. What does Samma means?
My name plus mom.
Oh, I like that, Sam Ma, but your last name is not Ma, right?
He's considering changing it.
No, he won't. He
Don't get too
won't
difficult.
abandon his parents. But Samma, that means correct, proper, right. Remember? Okay? All the Eightfold Noble Path start with Samma. Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappo, right? Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi, right? Samma Vijaya, right? All start with Samma. So remember this Pali word, Samma Ditti. So in our favorable book, which is called Dhammapada, there is this verse 15. We all actually studied that before. And I want you to bring your awareness back to this. He said the evildoer grieves here and hereafter. He grieves in both the worlds. He laments and is afflicted, recollecting his own impure deeds. So what does he mean by this?
You reap what you sow.
Maria? Yes, Nora?
Karma.
Karma. Yes. Maria?
Well, that was a short version of what I was going to say.
Okay.
I'll just go with that. That was the shortcut.
Okay.
No, just in this life and in the afterlife, he's going to continue be a miserable person.
But people don't believe in this. Don't we see that around the world now? People think that they killed, so they will go to heaven.
I don't even get that.
Because that's a wrong view. Right? That's a faulty understanding. They think that they beheaded people, then they will go to heaven. They'll be rewarded. Is that wrong?
Brainwashed, though, to think,
Yeah.
to believe that from a young age, so
Yeah.
they really believe it. So then, because they really believe it, you think maybe they just get good karma. Because they're,
But-
it's wrong, but they're doing what they think is right.
Yeah, because they have a faulty understanding.
Yeah.
If they have the right mind, then they will think, they will know this is faulty, this is not proper.
I was just going to say, somebody can tell you to do something and you will know what you feel.
Yeah,
It's wrong.
yeah,
You can be taught that right from the time you were tiny.
yeah,
But you always know that this doesn't feel right. When you are old enough to gain your own responsibility, you will, if you have the strength,
Yeah.
push what you've been taught.
yeah.
So
But
I don't,
It's really also, of course, the upbringing will affect that, but actually it's the core feeling, the core inside you, that actually is going to be the whole cause for this.
Like our hard drive.
Yeah, the whole core inside. So if you don't have that kind of core, no matter how people feed you, you know that this is not right doing. Unless you have that kind of seeds in there, then you allow people to feed you. So anybody that actually feeding you or brainwashing you is actually feeding you, that's all. But if you don't have those seeds, they won't sprout. They won't grow. They won't bear fruits. Got it? You agree? You agree?
Well, what if it's a cultural thing? Like, it's in some areas it's okay to have two wives, so it's not a wrong thing because that's a cultural belief. But we think that's a really wrong thing to have two wives or to have another, be an adulteress.
That's
But
also,
but
this
it's
actually
a
is
cultural
karma.
thing.
these people are born into that area. It's all karma that they are born in there.
It's right action though, if it's their cultural belief that that's okay to do that.
It's right action according to their culture.
Yeah, according to their culture.
Yeah.
So how can they get bad karma from something, like, because we're...
If that is their culture, they're not getting bad karma.
Okay.
But the culture is not to cause harm and hurt to people. I mean, the karma is not to cause harm and hurt to people. The right karma is not causing harm and hurt to others. But if your culture allows you to have 2 wives, then you have 3, then you're causing harm and hurt to others.
Okay, I got
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's actually a very fine line,
Yes, it is very fine line.
right?
Yeah.
So one has to be very careful and not to judge so easily. But if you start to kill, you're taking people's life, you're hurting and harming, that's nothing to do with culture.
What if you kill somebody to protect your own child?
Well, you still have to bear the consequence
Yeah,
of killing,
yeah.
but if you that intention, you have to bear the consequences, the causes. You have to bear the consequences. So if you're protecting just one child, then the consequences may be a little bit bigger, heavier. But if you're protecting a big crowd, and then you kill people to protect a big crowd, then the consequences will be lesser.
Yeah.
You have to something
I
to
was
say?
thinking of the expression that the karma is rather like a dye that penetrates the cloth.
Yeah. Yes.
An integral part of one's being.
Yes. So, you have something to say, Bill? Paul? No. Okay. So we know actually a lot of people kills, a lot of people steals, a lot of people do a lot of unskillful deeds to become wealthy, to become famous, to become powerful, whatever, to have status. So that is an unskillful understanding that leads to those actions. Okay? So one has to be very, very careful. Make sure that we have this thing right, the right understanding right. Because we have to bear those consequences eventually. You have a question?
Let me just point out something with the having one wife, more than one. I think it's something to do with culture. Something to do with the culture didn't exist just like that. It
The
started
people building
from
it up.
somebody. So I think that somebody who started it didn't have contentment.
It's
Probably,
true. Very
probably,
good.
At that time they had the power. You know what? Hey, I have power, and
I can have 2
I
wives.
Make this rule,
Yeah.
for the sake of our own culture, for the next generation, it can happen. Same thing with politics, right?
Yeah.
The same government, and it becomes like a culture. So
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody was
Very good, Sam. That's a very good point. It's actually, I think it all started as a personal craving. It could be, right?
And sometimes maybe it wasn't a craving. Sometimes it's maybe because your brother died, and so you married the widow.
The
So
widow.
she had protection, and was
Yeah.
But you could do it even without the lust, even
Yeah.
without
Yes.
cohabitating,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's the contentment within you.
Yes. It's the contentment within you.
And so that's why you say it's karma, because the people that will follow that particular culture were placed in that culture in
Of
their-
course, it's a karma to be placed in such a culture, to be born in such a race, into such a race, to be born into such a place.
because that is the lesson
It's all
for them.
karma.
Mhm, okay.
There is a past cause for you to be here, for you to be living in Chilliwack at this time.
And not committing jihad.
Yeah, and not being somewhere else. I mean, look at the regular group that we have on Tuesday night. Some people are missing. Why? Because it's just that they're missing because that seed is not here to be here tonight. They don't have that seed to be here tonight, so they're missing. So we unknowingly that we have so many seeds in our mind that actually keeps springing up each time, each day, each moment. So we don't know which seed will spring up. That's why it's so important to be mindful of each moment, because we don't know which seed will come into play. And if we are not mindful, we can be easily trapped by an unwholesome seed that actually springs up at that moment and will take us away or trap us. Get that? It's a very serious discussion. Is that, but if we get that right, that we know the importance of being mindful each moment. Why do we need to be mindful each moment? Why? Because you don't know which seed will spring up. That's how I see it. Huh? You have something to say, Bill?
I was just thinking about how one's life and thoughts are affected by people that you've never known. For instance, recently, maybe because of the troubles in the world, and it might be just what we call a technical reminiscence of an advanced age, but I was subject to a series of lectures on the emerging African states in the early 1970s. And one aspect that affected me profoundly, and I found myself thinking more and more about him, a man named Simon Kimbangu, who was incarcerated by the Belgian government for 25 years for forming a bricklayers union. And now, recently, the man and everything he stood for comes surging back into my mind. Now, I found he was a bricklayer, and he attempted to form a union, and the Belgian authorities put him into solitary confinement for 25 years. Yeah.
Well, it's just
so
like...
I'm thinking, well, all these things are kind of right in my mind recently, because of what's happening generally, universally, general breakdown. But the anchor points in society were all swept away.
Yeah, but still, it doesn't matter whether the anchor points or whatever, or people are unfairly being imprisoned, or people are unfairly incarcerated. Remember the monk that we met 2 years ago? He was incarcerated for 33 years in China because he was a monk during the Cultural Revolution. So, yes, from a mundane level, we think it's wrong. It's wrong. He was wrongly, unfairly incarcerated. But from a karmic point of view, there's no unfairness. There's no fairness. It's all your own karma. Sorry about that. It's true. So don't judge, don't analyze, don't seek for fairness, don't say, this is unfair. I'm a woman, this is unfair. Treat me equally as the man. Sorry. This is all karma. Karma is the most equal of all. So, karma has no eyes. It's your own karma that actually calculates your own life. That determines where you are, that determines who you are, that determines where you're born into, which family you're going to stay in. Even though you may have a karma to be born into that family, doesn't mean that you have that karma to be raised by such family. So this all karma. That's the fairest. Is the karma. Oh, it's too difficult, eh?
How do you know?
You don't need to know.
Well, how do you know when to do action, when to try to change something?
That's why mindfulness is important.
If it's karma and it's supposed to be that way, what
That's-
if you change it, but it's not supposed to change? What if that?
You can't change it if it's not supposed to change.
Oh, okay.
You can't, even though you try very hard.
Oh, okay.
You can't change it if it's karma. But if you can change your future by being non-reactive, by being less reactive to what that you're facing with right now. Yeah, Molly, you have something to say?
Well, it's this almost the same thing that
Yes.
she was asking. So if we accept something as being karma, like being a woman, just mentioned,
Yeah.
and equal rights or whatever. So do we accept it that way, or do we do something to change things? So that, what do we?
Well, I mean, I'm a woman. I can change. Yes, of course I can change. That's why so many transgender operations, being invented. But do you need to go that far? That means you're not accepting the karma. But for people who actually go through those transgender operations, why did they go through? Because of their own karma too. If they don't have such a karma, they wouldn't go that far to have their sex changed. That's also karma. So you and me actually embrace that karma as a woman, but yet the inequality that we may have encountered in life, sometimes we get upset, but we know this is the way my life is being played out. But can I embrace it with an open heart? Yes, this is the way it is. And I can be as happy as I can be. I don't need to be unhappy with that. But because we have this view of saying, yeah, everybody is equal. Like, okay, here we have the equal pay. Come on. What is equal? The Buddha said, yes, we are all equal on the basis of Buddhahood. Buddhahood, we are all equal. Even a dog has that Buddhahood in there. A worm has that. But they have to go through so many different lives in order to become a human being, to be able to actually process the teachings, to be able to have this mind to practice, then they will attain Buddhahood in the future. They have this equal in that sense. But in the mundane world, what is equal? When you talk about equality, you start to judge. This is not equal. Then already you actually veer off from the path. Yeah? When you start to judge, this is not equal, this is what I'm supposed to get, then you actually already start judging. And it's already not the way it is.
But for example, if you saw somebody being bullied, you could still speak up.
Of course. You have to speak up at the right time.
Yeah.
And but if there's, even though you have spoken up a few times, and if that still goes on, is there anything more that you can do? Yes, you can. You go to the police station. You try all your efforts, but with no expectations of your expected results to come. That's the important part. Yeah?
Then karma is the fact that this person's being bullied. The karma is the fact that you are actually there to witness it, and you are going to say something or speak. And the karma would be whether you continue on or whether you leave it at that, whether this person gets help or what.
Yeah,
that is
it's all karma. It's all collected karma. It's all collected karma. Okay? So the individual karma is here just me as a woman, and you as a woman, you as a man. This is all individual karma, but I accept it, but you might not accept it. Then that's also your karma of not accepting the equality or the inequality. I accept it the way it is, with whole heart. Then that's my karma too, because I had that karma to accept things the way they are, in this aspect. Or you may not accept. I may not accept this thing the way it is, and you may accept. It's all these karmic forces. Okay? So.
But you could do things to negate some of the bad karma. Can we do things to?
Of course we can. Of course we can. Otherwise, why do we need to serve humanity? Why do we need to change our mindset? Why do we need to develop this mindfulness if we cannot negate those unskillful karma? When we don't need to do anything, then the Buddha did not need to come and teach us. Right? Of course, we need to negate. We need to perform good deeds to negate this we call black karma. Yeah? Okay?